Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we're going to dive into a topic that I think a lot of people overlook when it comes to miniature horses, driving training. Now, I know what most people think of horses pulling carts. They picture those big draft horses or maybe a full-sized riding horse in a harness. But miniature horses can be trained to drive too, and it's not only adorable, it's a lot of fun, and it can be useful. That said, it's not something you can just hitch up and go with. There are some ground rules, and today we're going to walk through those ground rules step by step. So, just like any driving horse, getting your miniature horse to the point where he's comfortable and confident enough to perform, whether it's at a show, a parade, or just driving around your property, takes time, patience, and knowledge. This isn't a quick project. It's not something you can rush. If you don't have a solid base of understanding horse training in general and the correct use of drive training equipment in particular, you're probably going to want some experienced assistance, especially if you have a horse that's not really that patient with you and doesn't really know what you're doing. You might need a little bit of assistance in the training department. Now, that might mean taking lessons or working with a trainer or even shadowing someone who already drives horses so you can really start to understand the process. Think of it kind of like learning to drive a car. You wouldn't toss your teenager the keys without showing them how the pedals work, without teaching them about the gear shift, the mirrors. Same principle. You need to train them up first. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that because miniature horses are small, they don't need the same level of training and care as a full-sized horse. People think, well, if something goes wrong, I'm not dealing with a 1,000-pound animal. And on the surface, that sounds illogical until you realize that a miniature horse can still get scared, it can bolt, it can kick, it can flip an entire cart. Not only can you get hurt, but the horse could get hurt too. And here's the important part. It's not fair to your horse to cut corners on his training just because he's small. Respect him the same way you would respect a big horse. Minis deserve the same thoughtful, step-by-step training as their larger cousins. So, that being said, taking shortcuts might feel tempting. You might think, oh, he seems fine. Let's just skip the steps and move on to the cart. But shortcuts in training almost always come back to bite you later. Okay? Almost without exception. If the horse hasn't learned to trust the harness, the bit, the long lines, or the noises of the cart, the first time something scary happens, he won't know how to cope. Horses don't forget bad experiences. Not ever. A single frightening or painful incident in harness can ruin their confidence for life. And you're not only dealing with a horse who refuses to drive. You're dealing with a horse who might panic every time he sees a cart anywhere near him. That's a hard thing to undo. So how do you avoid that? By respecting the process. Start with the basics. Ground driving, getting your miniature comfortable with voice commands, and teaching him to respond to rein pressure. Introduce the harness slowly, piece by piece. Give him time to adjust. Work at his pace, not yours. Just because you're thinking, well, there's a show on Friday, well, he's not going to be ready by Friday. He needs more time. Reward the calm behavior, okay? Don't push him past what he can handle in that moment. Remember, your goal is long-term success, not a quick win. When your horse is confident every step of the way, then you can finally hitch him to a cart. That way he's not stressed out. He's ready. Now let's talk about safety for a second. Even though minis are small, accidents can still happen. You don't want to be in a runaway situation, and you definitely don't want your horse to hurt himself. Harness driving requires respect for the equipment, the knowledge of how it all works, and an understanding that you're working with a living, thinking animal. He's not a machine, okay? He has thoughts and feelings. So be patient, keep your horse safe, and keep yourself safe as well. At the end of the day, driving with miniature horses can be one of the most rewarding things you can do on your farm. They're smart, they're willing, and they look fantastic in harness. But it's only fun if it's done right. Take the time, respect the process, and you'll end up with a confident little partner who loves the job as much as you do. Now, in the coming weeks, we are going to talk about the different things you can do to help your miniature horse learn about the harness, to introduce him to the harness, to eventually get him to pull a cart properly. We're going to take it step by step. We're going to talk about each little phase. For now, just start learning yourself. Watch some videos of horses under harness. Watch someone teach a horse to drive. Kind of get a feel for it before you get anywhere near your horse with that harness. Okay? Learn what the equipment pieces are called. Learn how to put them on without putting them on him first. Okay? Learn how those pieces work before you run over and get him started. You need to be confident in what you're doing before you can put your harness on him. You don't want that harness on him until you know how that harness works. So, knowledge, patience, respect, time. All of these things matter. So take the time, learn about it all, and just take it step by step. We'll talk about it more in the coming weeks. But for now, that's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Drop a comment below if you've ever thought about training a miniature horse to drive, or if you already have one in harness. I'd love to hear your stories. I would love to hear what went wrong and what went right. It can help everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.